Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and let's have a tough conversation about heirloom tools. And we're not looking at what came from the past into our present, but rather our present into somebody else's future. And why I decided to address a topic like this is I've got quite a few tools, but I think about what is important that could be passed on, or what would have some value to some future generation. In reality, there are a lot of kind of commemorative tools. I don't own really any of the specialty 100th anniversary, 75th anniversary tools. Maybe I've got some, but I don't know it. But what I've discovered is that people buy those and then they keep them for their own pleasure, which is totally fine. But the next generation comes along and it means pretty much nothing to them. And they will sell them or they'll use them. So actually I've got two tips here. One is, if you've got these really nice tools, you should really enjoy them while you're still alive. Even if they're commemorative tools. Yes, they have value, and some future generation might sell them on eBay for a bunch. We see that kind of stuff all the time. But in reality, they're your tools, and you don't know if they'll be donated to the Goodwill or Salvation Army or sold off on eBay, but yet you're preserving them as if they are really something special when you could be enjoying them. And in reality, there's a lot of people who have good stuff they don't use, and they use the bad stuff or the mediocre stuff or the less commemorative stuff in order to protect the special stuff for some future generation that may or may not appreciate it. So I wanted to show you some things. One, out of all of these tools, I started to think, what would be a heirloom tool? What would I want my kids or other kids or future generations to appreciate and think back on? And in reality, I've got two on this table. This one and this one. This came from my grandfather on my father's side. This came from the grandfather on my mother's side. Those are the two tools. And my grandfather on my mother's side was an engineer. My grandfather on my father's side was a farmer and handyman, did all kinds of great work, but that's it. Those are the tools right there. Out of all of the possible tools, and there were some neat ones I didn't get. I'm sure there were anvils and blacksmithing tools and hammers and all kinds of things, but that's what I ended up with. And in reality, these make sense. Why? Because they're more memory than they are actually useful. Maybe an anvil would be nice, maybe a hammer, but after that, we have come so far in our tool design and our tool durability and functionality that those old tools, which I have plenty of, I have them all over the place, as I've shown you, with, say, fencing pliers, which I've got. I've got old lineman pliers. I mean, these are old tools that have been around for many, many decades in my family. But, I look at them as tools to use. I don't know the history. I assume they were used, on the farm or for particular jobs, but that's not an heirloom tool. This gets passed down. This thing will travel with this through time, through my kids and my kids' kids maybe. But would a snap-on racing commemorative pocket knife? No. So let's take a look at what you might be passing on, or what somebody might really like. One, as much as I love this hammer, plastic handled, this will get used up, broken, and that'll be the end of it. So that one's out. Then I look at, anything electronic. These are great, but they're eventually going to be outdated. We'll have like nuclear cell batteries, and this will be like 450 million foot-pounds, and that'll be that. We might have giant tools that we really like. This great, big, valuable snap-on adjustable head 1/2-inch ratchet. unless they're doing this kind of work, this is meaningless. So it's cool, but it'll just be some rusty icon. Get rid of that. Woodworking tools, these always are great. They're generally not heirlooms, though. You know, we use them for all kinds of jobs, and they get used and used and used, and then that's that. We don't necessarily keep them and hang them on the wall, but, you know, that could happen. I doubt it. Let's see. The utility knife will probably transcend time. This will be the thing. This might be my heirloom tool, if you can believe it. Why? Because people would want to keep it no matter what their job, their occupation, their work, their hobbies. Something like this comes in handy. I know, because these things seem to get passed down through time forever. The old Stanleys, even the dangerous ones, they just are always around. Even these guys. Look at this price. You got 89 cents on this thing. I mean, I remember these growing up. Unfortunately, this one, the blade falls out. Oh well. Pliers. These, I assume the vinyl grips in 50, 100 years are going to be disintegrated, but these will still be solid pliers. These will probably move through time just fine, as do adjustable wrenches. They just always have a good use, as long as they don't rust up or become too difficult to use. That might be one. I don't expect this you know, kind of oil-based material here to transcend time, but it doesn't matter. Wood-handled handles of, like on this ball peen, this 2-ounce. This is really cool. This probably will transcend time. They'll just hang on to it. It'll be neat. It was dad's or grandpa's or great-grandpa's, you know, and then hopefully the handle, you know, lasts. But it's going to last longer than a plastic handle. Some tools like this brass handled or brass head might survive simply because they're unique, they're pretty, they're expensive, they're unusual, but it's really, you know, that's what might end up transcending time, just simply because of its oddity. But in reality, it's going to be something small. It's going to be ubiquitous. It might be a souvenir. I do use this. I never use this. I don't even know what size it is. Just hangs out on my toolbox, stuck with a magnet. And it came from my grandfather's, I think, Model T. You can see the date, 1917. He remembers it. He told me about it. Here's one. How about this? Back when we didn't have 5,000 of these things flying around. Well, you know what it is? You can see up here maybe 20 pounds to 120. And what this is, an air pressure gauge. Old school. Now we've got little narrow ones. Came in a canvas case. You know, back when we had only one of things. But anyway, that became somebody's heirloom. It was given to me. They thought this must be valuable. It must be neat. And they handed it to me, and I've still got it. I don't know the history, but it meant a lot to somebody. So what I want you to think about, kind of the issues here, is what tools do you think you want to saddle the future with? And the problem with it is you don't want to dump your whole toolbox on some poor kid who isn't in your field and then has to sell it. He might just put it all on eBay or just put it on Craigslist and said, come and make an offer and I'll take whatever. And it's your pride and joy right now, but when you're not around to deal with it, what is somebody else going to do? So ask yourself, what would you want to pass forward? And then hand that to the person. Say, you know what? I love these. I've used them a ton. I want you to have them. Remember me. Keep them. Use them. You know, or something simple like that. But otherwise, the rest of it, that's where we get our tools. When I go to pawn shops and secondhand stores or shop on eBay, I'm probably getting the heirloom tools of some previous person whose family just didn't know what they had or didn't understand the significance, or they were just overwhelmed. They had way too many things. So there is an issue. It's kind of an odd topic, but it's called the Swedish art of death cleaning, and that's where you actually clean up, move these things on to the next generation, choose a few to pass forward, and then understand that you're not saddling the next generation with with some pile of stuff that they have to deal with before they move on, to their own interests. So think about the idea behind heirloom tools, choose a couple, think about what it means, and then take an initiative and talk to whoever it is you want to have it, and pass it forward. And with that, Doc out.